Hello Sofa Squad and welcome back to the sofa. My name's Paul, that's my sofa, this is my dog named Roscoe. Now y'all, today we are going to be talking about the Melanie Gibb interview that we didn't know we needed but we got, and oh my god. Y'all buckle your damn sofa seatbelts up for this one, because let me tell you what, it knocked me off the sofa, out the front door, and straight out to a damn dumpster fire, which is where this entire 2-hour debacle belongs. Now, if you're here at the Sofa Squad, you probably already know this, but quick refresher, what we're talking about is Melanie Gibb. Now, she was a very close friend of Lori Daybell's. So you can only imagine the tea that comes out in this interview. So a couple of investigators are interviewing her. They brought her back in to ask her some questions, and it gets a little saucy at times. So it's basically like a 2-hour interview. So what we're going to do in this video specifically is I'm just going to kind of be breaking down some clips of it and whatnot. I ain't no doctor, I ain't no lawyer, I ain't no shrink. I'm just a guy on a sofa with 2 cents to share with you. So keep that in mind. These are my opinions. This is allegedly. This isn't meant to come after anyone in real life or anything like that. I just have a lot of opinions that I like to share with the Sofa Squad, and I like to hear from you down in the comment section. Now also, if you like scary movies, scary movie reviews, stuff like that, don't forget to check out my scary movie review channel. It is called A Slice, A Spice, and a Dice Movie Reviews. It's in the description. It's free. It's new. Check it out. If you want to see other content by me, consider joining Patreon or a channel membership. There you're going to find, like, you know, cases that are a little too dicey to talk about here. A lot of like absurd criminal Florida man, lighthearted type stuff, and some personal story times. So consider that. It's down in the description. And as always, thank you to everybody who is here at the Sofa Squad, supporting and making the channel possible, whether it be commenting, liking, sharing the videos, and just being an overall member on the sofa. I couldn't do it without you. Neither could Roscoe, and we appreciate it. Now, with all that being said, let's get to edition. So if you watch my video on Lori Daybell's interview that she did, that one was a little bit more easy to follow. I can't believe I'm saying that about an interview with her, but hers was more like a timeline of what happened on this day. Boom, 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 boom. I was kind of expecting that with this one, but oh no. Y'all, this one's so all over the place, and they are trying to reel her in. So we're gonna kind of not go from point A to B in this. We're gonna talk about different themes, you know, just different aspects of the video. Gum licking might be one of them. My God, that drove me crazy. Okay, so let's talk about the overwhelming amount of giddiness in this video, in this interview. Okay, at one point she has to remind the detectives, and I think herself, how difficult this is for her to do.
Oh, wait. Sorry, I remembered one. Let me just stick to that one for right now. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
All over the place. This is not enjoyable for me.
It's all right.
This sucks. Anyway.
We'll get through it.
Now you might have noticed themes of her talking down to Detective Hermosillo in this video, and don't worry, we're going to get to that one later. Now also, one thing that I found interesting about this is you might be thinking like, oh wow, you know, maybe she loosened up over time, because that clip comes from later in the video. Oh no. She came to the party like that.
Give us a yell. Yeah.
We'll yell.
Hey.
How are you?
Good to see you. I'm good.
Good.
Is Duncan going to be around?
Duncan's just on another case right now, so if he finishes up, I will let you know that he left.
Yeah, I like him. He's fun. He's fun.
Now, as you see, she just bops on in. How's Duncan? Where is he? How is the wife and kids? I mean, she acts like this is just a regular old family reunion. Now, also, we will learn at this point in time that a lot of things have changed for Miss Melanie.
How are you?
I'm
Been a long
good.
time.
No, I'm good. I'm married now.
That's what I understand. Good.
Awesome, congrats.
And we still are married, according to a gossip that's out there that we're separated. That's the gossip.
Okay, so as y'all just saw, Melanie starts talking about, I'm married, oh my God, I got my man. And most any of us would be excited about this, that's understandable. But then she immediately reverts to the talk of gossip, like some of the news and gossip out there about her and her guy, David. So she says the word gossip like she is actually allergic to it. Okay, and then she will proceed, which we're getting ready to see, to drop some of the first bombs in the interview that I'm like, hold up. Didn't we just say this about gossiping?
They got the gossip. You know what I heard? I don't follow me. I don't look up any information about what people say about me. Don't want to know. Don't care.
Y'all, the minute that she was like, I don't follow me, okay? Don't follow me. I was like, yep, I'm out. That's all I needed to hear. That is such a low-key way, in my opinion, to be like, hi, my name's Paul. I matter. And I was just like, ugh, the cringe is just already serving major pain. And I think this is the first just couple of minutes of the interview. I'm also not buying the whole thing. Don't want to know what the gossip is. Don't care. Don't tell me if you're a real friend. I'm just like, I don't think that's true. I think that you're probably glued to the internet following some of this stuff. Now, again, I don't know that for a fact. That's my speculation, my petty speculation, if you will. But nonetheless, I don't think that that's very genuine sounding. But then she'll offer something else after that, and I think it's very interesting, and I'm going to let Miss Melanie explain it to us.
Anyway, but somebody told me, did you know that you and David were married on 12/12. That's 12 times 12 is 144. Like the 144,000 I went.
Oh my God.
I was like, I never ever put that together. And then it was Alex's death. Didn't even know it was his death. Didn't even know. Because I didn't memorize
on the 12th
the
of
day.
December?
That's what they said.
Okay, so she tries to act like this is some absurd conclusion that people have drawn these parallels and conclusions and whatever, that, you know, her wedding date or whatever, 12/12, this is symbolic of the 144,000 along with Alex's day of death. And this is just what I find absurd about it. So first of all, I felt like the detectives right then were like, when she said that out loud, they were like, oh wow, she's crazier than we thought. Because they were probably like, yeah, that makes sense. This is the thing. So again, this is like in the beginning of the interview. So she is then going to spout out all this stuff that she doesn't believe in. And I'm just like, why would you think it's a far cry for people to draw that conclusion? Like, that seems completely on brand for this crowd, that they would do things like this to represent the symbolic stuff. So the fact that she's like, oh my God, I can't believe it, like that is so embarrassing for them. I'm also kind of like, okay, number one, is she just completely that oblivious and thinks like, no, we're not that crazy? Or is she like, ugh, I know we're that crazy and I need to go ahead and own the information myself, you know what I'm saying? Call it out so that it makes it look like it wasn't on purpose. Does that make sense? Now, one thing that really got under my skin with this whole interview is the way she addresses Hermosillo, her body language to him, everything. It's like she has the superiority complex to him because maybe because they don't share the same religion, I don't know. But that's what it seems like to me because of the things that she tries to align herself with Detective Ron over. And it really bothers me throughout this.
And I was like,
Yeah, he did that.
I'm glad that they know more than I know about myself. And I was like,
Crazy. It's crazy.
people, you guys are like,
Melanie,
why do you spend your life looking at another person and gossiping about them? That is so bad.
Some people, and really with this case, that are so involved with it, is like, it seems like it's just consumed their lives.
It's consuming. It's addiction.
And they're always posting, they're always looking, always coming with these little things.
Oh, it's so gross. I don't know what else they're saying, and I don't want to know. So I always tell people, don't tell me. Don't want to know what they're saying. Just leave me alone. So I don't know too much more. Isn't that great?
Okay, so you see how she will like talk over Hermosillo and just kind of divert her attention mostly to Ron, and she does this even more prevalent as the interview gets going. So there's that. This is like the beginning of that behavior that we see, but again, it's representative throughout the whole video. Now, another thing that bothers me about this one clip and the statements, whatever, is she's talking about all of this gossip stuff and how terrible it is, and you know, yada yada yada. And I'm just kind of like, well, I feel like she's done the same thing because this feels like a gossip rag. You know what I'm saying? Like we're watching someone just spew all this gossip. And then kind of listening to all the stories she's telling, I'm like, this was just like a Mean Girls club. Like all this little gossip and all this going on between these people. And so that's why I'm just like, well, why are you holding your nose up so high to people doing this to her? You know what I'm saying? It doesn't sit right with me at all. And honestly, it kind of makes me mad. So now, other things that we'll see take place in this interview is the discussion on castings, as well as her trying to distance herself from accountability and responsibility.
If I look at this, I'm like, such and such has a evil spirit in them.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I would call a group together to have a prayer and a casting.
Yeah.
Or if I would just, you know, in my own personal prayer say, Lord, will you help this person out?
Right. I don't agree with it. But I want you to know that's what the idea. Anything I tell you, I don't agree with. But that's how it came about in the time. So how it started was this. We were in Sulima's house.
Now, one thing I found interesting about this is you see that the other detective, Ron, he is talking to her about this casting stuff, and he's like, look, you know, if I felt like, you know, someone, a friend, whatever, had an evil spirit, I don't know if I would call a group together and do this whole little casting scene like y'all are doing. I might say a little prayer, da-da-da-da-da. Okay, to me, that is more normal, okay? That's what you would probably anticipate. But the discussions that all these people, meaning Chad, Lori, Melanie, all of them are coming out talking about these casting sessions and stuff, it's very bizarre, okay? And so then what's interesting is Melanie in this, she starts the uphill battle of trying to distance herself. And this is where I just think, yeah, this is not a cute look. Because she's like, oh no, I want y'all to know I didn't believe this stuff, okay? I don't agree with it, don't believe in it. And you can tell the shifting of the body language in Ron and Hermosillo, because as we know, they have more evidence that's like, girl, not only did you believe in it, but yeah, like there's a whole bunch more to it. And in fact, at a certain point, Hermosillo, and to me, he's the one who is, if you had to look at like bad cop, good cop, and I don't necessarily think they're even roughing her up, but Hermosillo is the one that's going to be more like, bam, here's this, what are you going to say? Whereas Ron's being more gentle. They can tell that she connects with him more, or wants to, I should say, and thinks she does. So it's almost like Hermosillo's having to ask the hard-hitting questions. So he will come up eventually and be like, yeah, girl, we've got evidence that shows you, we're showing signs that you pretty well believed in all this stuff. And so that's where we can also see her starting to backtrack.
And I know this stuff, bringing it up, can be kind of embarrassing, that this, to think that I actually bought into some of that stuff.
Absolutely, it is.
But it's super important that if you did buy into it, you let us know. Because we've recovered text messages and conversations between you and Lori, or you and Zulima, and things like that. So there's some things where it shows that you actually believe that Charles was a zombie.
Well, like I said, to a certain level, I believe it, just like Sulima. But remember me asking her the last time I saw them, I said to him directly, it's like, and this was just to show you where my beliefs were, and Sulima's. I said, I'm not 100%. Now, here we're not influenced by Chad and Lori because they're not in the room. This is us three now, alone.
It felt like you could sense all the hope in that room drain out onto the floor when he started telling her that they have this text message evidence. And he was like so gentle about it. He was like, look, now I know it can be kind of embarrassing to admit that you bought into this crap. I meant stuff. And she was just like, yeah, absolutely. And you can hear it in her voice, and she's like, self-soothing, almost like she's holding a little dog and petting it. Now, again, she starts in this clip of well, I didn't 100% believe it, okay? You know, not 100%, so we start going into these, percentages and stuff like that. And so here's my thing. And again, this just goes throughout the whole thing where I'm just like, okay, if you didn't 100% believe in this, and let's just equate it to this. We're growing up, there's certain, holiday figures that we might believe are real at certain times. And, but there's that little doubt. You're like, I don't know, da-da-da. Okay, that's pretty benign for the most part. When you're getting into this stuff where people are losing their lives, children are missing, really bizarre stuff is going on, that's not something that you sit on the fence about for very long. And I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt of even saying that you could even entertain it for 1 minute. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I'm just like, at what point were you going to stop believing? Like, at what loss of life was that going to be like, maybe this isn't real, maybe something's going on? You know what I mean? It just, that part really does not sit well with me, and it's so prevalent throughout this whole video, the interview. Now, even later throughout, again, Hermosillo will keep just reiterating some of these tougher questions for her, and he'll specifically ask her about these different probations that she allegedly has lived through.
Melanie, let me ask you this. With multiple probations, were you 100% believer in that?
Probably sounded like I was, but there was always that question mark. Everything's a question mark for sure, but did I sound like I believed in it? Yeah, I tried to. I tried.
Now, like the detectives will tell her, look, the defense is going to bring all this stuff up, so they're kind of going through these tougher questions, but also I feel like it's going to answer questions for them, because y'all, let's be honest, it's not going to be a cute day on stand when this finally goes to trial, y'all, and they bring her up there. I mean, because they're being very gentle with her. And I keep pointing this way because I'm watching the clips on my computer, so I apologize. It's because that's why I keep looking that way. But anyways, it's not going to be a cute day for her. So, in this one right here where it's like, well, I mean, I probably sounded like I did believe in that. What a way to get out of that. Whether it's just being embarrassed over buying into the beliefs or not, it's just that alleviation, you know, because I have this sense of issue with somebody who, and this isn't just specific to her, but really anybody who's like, you need to be accountable, you need to do this, but they're not willing to do it themselves. Not walking the walk, just talking the talk.
Yeah, I went along with the text because I was trying to believe in it, you know, and I was trying to, but there was always that little part of me that was like, you know, you're going to have that. You're going to have that doubt until you ever had doubts about something, but you go along with it for a while because you kind of, and then you're like, So I'm not denying that because I told you I was gullible. So that, I mean, it's just that I didn't 100% believe in it. I never 100% believed in anything, but she was so convincing when she come around you, she would just like make you try to believe it more. You know what I mean? It's like when you have something, you ever try to believe in something and you keep talking about it to keep convincing yourself of it? You know, multi-levels are great at that. You know, you're just trying to talk yourself into it. And so, but the 100% was never there.
So again, she just buckles down more and more when she's confronted with this stuff, and she goes back into I didn't believe it 100%. I never believe in something 100%. And I just find that like such an odd statement. And I mean, I really haven't even pondered it much, but it's just such an odd thing to say about that. And then going into the whole thing of, you know, when you try to convince yourself and you know, and looking to Ron so much for some kind of like life raft, and he's just not really willing to throw it to her at times, which I agree. I love how she brought MLMs into it at the very end, because I was like, oh, girl, we know you didn't stand a chance against that text message from one of your old high school friends about Lulu Damrow. Okay, I mean, she signed up within 5 seconds, flat, easy sale, case damn closed. Now, also in addition to that, just all of this stuff seems so normalized to her the way she talks about it, and it could be she's repeated it so much at this time, but just from a complete outsider, I'm just like, why is this even, I mean, it just seems so bizarre to me, so bizarre, and I feel like it seems completely bizarre. I think they're keeping very good poker faces on, but for Hermosillo and Ron, I feel like, you know, they're kind of like, we're going to keep a straight face type situation. Obviously, she's working with them. They need her. You know, but it's just jarring to hear how normalized some of these beliefs are.
It was just a matter of, like, if you were to invite somebody to leave. I think they started using different weapons that had light in them to help that, encourage that spirit to come out of the body by those words. But it had no power. So I haven't worried about it since I've left Lori. I was like, she didn't have any power. She can't hurt me. I'm not worried about her. So obviously I didn't believe in it to the level of worrying about my life, right?
Yep, these are just normal everyday things that we talk about. Spells, castings, all this kind of stuff. It's all very normal. But again, she just always slides in there about how she didn't believe in it. And notice how she looks to Hermosillo a lot of times when she does that. So it's almost like she's trying to prove her sanity or innocence to him, but trying to make like this spiritual, religious connection with Ron. Almost like, look, we're on the same note. Him over here, you know, he's just the commoner. And now on that note, along with that, it's like she does want to like break out into fellowship with Ron Ball or something. And you know what I'm saying? It's just so weird. And it also, I interpret it as this braggy aspect of like insider knowledge that she's gleeful about bragging about in front of somebody who doesn't have it, if that makes sense.
Oh, I've been changed by Christ. And I said, well, I have too. And it wasn't in a more significant way than maybe what I experienced at church. It was a beautiful experience that I had. And so, but there was nothing odd about it. It was just beautiful, you know? And so anyway, we go into a couple of different rooms. I don't want to share too much because it's the temple. Right. But anyway, she thinks that she has the power to ordain me at that point.
What's also interesting about these clips is for someone who is so naive, has no idea how to manipulate, done all this stuff, which she has said at the beginning of the interview, she continually tries to steer the answers and the questions, and a lot of it is coming back around to her belief system, and almost like this, number one, she wants to avoid answering the questions. Number two, she wants to have like a fellowship session or something, or a preaching session. I don't know. But it just strikes me so bizarre because I'm like, I thought you had no idea how to manipulate, and you seem to be doing a very good job at attempting to.
I don't like Father
You never heard
destroys
anything?
spirits.
Okay.
Oh, I'm not saying they believe that. I'm just saying you and I personally, I don't think they
yeah,
can be destroyed.
When we talk about this, I'm trying to.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
trying to dive into their world.
Okay, their
what
world,
they're
sorry,
thinking.
because you're
Right.
sharing personal, so okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So now this whole condescending clip right here, where she's again reverting things back to her personal beliefs and all this, and I love how Ron is not going to stand for this. He's like, look, and he's so nice about it. When we're talking about this, we're talking about, them, not us. Okay, well, you were sharing personal. You were sharing personal? I wasn't sure. Yeah. So she interrupts him. She talks over him. She steers his line of thinking. She's totally trying to control the narrative here. But then also trying to say, gaslighting him. Like, oh, I wouldn't have, it's your fault. And again, I just go back to, wait, this is the same person that literally 45 minutes ago told us she doesn't know how to manipulate, has no idea how to do any of that stuff. She's so naive to it. And I'm just like, but again, then why do we keep seeing this in this interview? What are you so afraid of? And why are you trying so hard to steer this narrative, and go back into this just preachy gospel? He doesn't want to hang out with her and talk about this on his own free time, or he would, okay? And that's where I'm just like, go find your own friend group and do this. Why take it out on these poor detectives? And now also, all these different experiences she had, which great, hallelujah for her. But if this is what we're seeing in the interviews and publicly or whatever, that's just the tip of the damn iceberg.
If you're LDS, you're going to be surprised by this. This is where the deception really began. I go into the temple, and I'm going to the dressing room, we're getting our white clothes on, and she is in the dressing stall. That I come out and I stand behind. They have an arch window in the Phoenix Temple, right in the women's room, and I'm standing there, and all of a sudden I get this like heat all over my head, and I'm like, what's that? So I said, Lori, and she comes out. I said, feel my head, and she goes, oh, it's happening.
Now see, sometimes I experience that heat thing too. I just went through a nasty bout of it when my doctor switched my meds up and they were kind of fighting it out up here. And let me tell you what, them hot flashes, oh my word, I swear, on the Lord's name, on a Sunday, on a fish platter at the damn seafood house after church, that I don't ever want to go through that again. Okay, so on a more serious note, let's talk about some of her reactions to the discussions of Tylee.
Do you know at that point in time if there was any tension between Lori and Tylee?
There was always tension.
Was there?
When was there wasn't tension? I mean, it was from day one that I met her. I walk in the room. I super good with teenagers. Love them. Hi. She's like, if we were each other, I was like, hi, and she.
So first of all, at the mere mention of Tylee, you see that look on her face, that scowl, okay? And I'm just like, oh my gosh. And then immediately, when wasn't there tension? I mean, and we've seen this kind of behavior about her towards Tylee and other interviews and, information and stuff like that. So that's where I'm kind of like, yeah, she had a serious personal problem. Okay, and we're going to talk about this in a little bit, but my personal thing is, because she probably was under the impression or belief that Lori was her mother from another probation, there was maybe some jealousy going on there, or something to that degree, but that's just my opinion. So there's that going on. Now then when she describes how Tylee acted to her, and she's like, playing it out with Hermosillo, I'm like, this is literally the way you're acting with Hermosillo, where you can barely look at him, you're condescending, and you're literally like shaming a deceased teenager at this point for acting that way towards you. And I'm like, I imagine she gets that reaction from a lot of people. I mean, let's be honest, she's probably the kind of mom that thinks she's the cool mom, you know what I'm saying? Like, we all have known that person. And so that's where I'm just like, yeah, this is really cringy and just feeling. Okay, so now when the discussion of JJ and the podcast evening, all that comes into play, this is where we're going to have to stop for a moment and talk about the gum licking thing, okay? oh my God, y'all, it goes into overdrive here. So there's a couple of things. I definitely think probably a side effect from medication. I get that too, where I have like serious dry mouth. I use certain, that stuff that you gurgle with and whatnot, and toothpaste for it. So I get that part. I'm sure some of my medications do that, and extra. But there's such this nervous energy about it, and it's so intense, and I'm just like, it's like a little squirrel sitting there, and I'm just like, oh my God. But it's interesting, body language wise, that it gets kicked up even more when the children are brought up.
He went upstairs with JJ. Is that correct? Is that what I remember?
Do you remember, you mean like when we were doing the podcast and then he came in the door with him sleeping?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of looked that way.
So he goes upstairs, and do you know where he went when he went upstairs?
Because he went into Lori's room because he wasn't in David's or my room. Those rooms are empty, so he had to have been in there.
Now again, notice these kind of like evasive answers about going upstairs. Yeah, I went in that direction. There's not, yes, I went upstairs. It's this interesting play on language that she does to avoid that. And again, I mean, I'm not insinuating why or anything like that, but I just think it's interesting to take note of. Now, again, when this timeline, they start, really trying to pin it down of where this person was when this text message was sent and I again feel like her responses, reactions are interesting.
Does Lori leave anywhere with JJ?
I don't have any memory of her leaving.
So you sent a text. Correction, Lori sent a text to you around 8:30 that evening saying that something to the effect of, hey, I'll be there shortly. JJ woke up. She's getting him back to bed.
Now with this, she acts surprised by this, like, oh, I didn't know about all that. I don't know what that could mean. But in a moment when Hermosillo is like, oh, well, we also have that text message information, she changes her tune up.
Do you have that conversation with her on your phone right now?
No, I think I deleted everything. I was freaked out when it happened. Sorry. I wish I would have kept it up.
Sorry.
So, and I can get that.
So say it again. So who's speaking? Say it again.
So Lori.
She texts me and says
something to the effect of, I'll be there shortly.
I'll be there shortly.
So now, again, in this beginning part where she's just like, I'm sorry, I wish I could. I was so freaked out, I deleted those messages. And then Hermosillo's like, well, I mean, we can get the text messages. So number one, she completely interrupts him when he, announces this, that he can get that information. And she's just like, okay. And she tries to get like completely serious about it. And she's all like, okay, now what did she say again? I'll be, is that B spelled with two E's or just one? Just one, okay. I'll be right there. Is it THERE? Okay. Now there's other aspects in this timeline of information that these detectives are trying to like gently extract from her, which they already said in the beginning of the interview they didn't want to have to do this, but clearly they had to do it the entire time. Now remember that David came to meet her that weekend when she was over there at Lori's, like the fateful weekend that JJ was last seen.
And that night when David was having his dream and you sent the text to the chat, and understand, I'm not casting any judgment here.
Yeah, that's okay.
But were you and David sleeping in the same room, or
that night we were. I think so.
Now again, no shame, no judgment. Everybody do your own thing. But for people that seem to be so high and mighty and self-righteous about things, it's interesting to see when they're doing things that others would probably turn their nose up. It's like, okay, yeah, well, we probably did this or whatever. And I'm just like, really? Okay. And it's that kind of falling over oneself. But it also makes you wonder how much stuff is going on, that this weirdness that we're sensing from her is because she's embarrassed of maybe going against something that her religious beliefs would frown upon. That type of a situation, because again, I'm just like, okay, well, the high and mighty thing just doesn't flow with all that. Then we're all human, we all make mistakes, we don't need to be sitting here going all over everything. Okay. So she describes an evening where David has this nightmare, and this also ties in with they had to be like sleeping in the same room or whatever, which is here nor there. But she's describing how, oh my gosh, it really affects him. It's like really hardcore. It just, goes all over his body. And I'm just like, okay, hey, I get it. I have some pretty intense dreams too. But some of the information that she describes about how to handle that is like, huh?
So that's what happened. So then I think, oh my gosh, maybe some evil spirit, because they were always talking about it. So I text Lori, and I text Chad. I'm like, I don't remember what I said. Probably, are you awake, or something's wrong, Chad. David, I don't remember what I said. I just remember trying to get to them. So I said, I'm going to go get Lori, see if she can help out. The door was locked. And so I was like, I don't know. She's not, I don't know if I should try to wake her up, or I just decided just to come back and see David after that.
So you tried the door handle. It was locked.
It was locked.
Did you knock on it?
Maybe.
Okay, so she describes this bad dream, and he's all shooken up, all this type of stuff. So she's going to text Lori and Chad separately, whatever, to be like, look, what's up? Maybe they could do a little, spell or whatever on him. So there's a couple of things real quick. First of all, notice again how she's distancing herself, where she's like, well, it could have been an evil spirit, and that's what they were always talking about. And so here's my thing right here. We've listened to her this whole time distance herself from these beliefs. I didn't really believe it, But I'm like, you also believed in it enough to wake them up in the middle of the evening to, do a little seance or spell or whatever you want to call it on your boyfriend because he had a bad dream. And I'm just like, this doesn't all add up when you look at it as a whole. And it just seems so odd and weird and bizarre. And my other thing is I'm like, this feels very much like a kid waking their parents up over a bad dream type thing.
So Lori was your mom?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because there's times you call her mom and some messages.
Yeah. Did I 100% believe in it? Say like, I buried in the 90s at times, but...
Okay, so here's my thing with this clip right here. The fact that she's saying, first of all, did I believe it in the 90s? That means she 100% believed it, y'all. You already know. If you go to the doctor and they're talking about how much do you drink once a week, they're going to be like 5 a day. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just how it is. So the fact that she's saying, in the 90s or whatever, and the calling her mom, and when we have text messages of you calling her mom, I'm telling you, y'all, she's not going to survive on the stand, okay? They're going to destroy her. And I'm not hoping for that, because what I hope is that justice can be brought for everyone. And if that means using her to get to Lori and them, so be it, okay? But I also have concerns about the evidence that's going to be brought out against her on the stand, because just from this interview, I'm like, this is not going to be a good look for her. So that whole dynamic brings me back around to this, and that is the potential for jealousy of Tylee. The way she talks about Tylee, the physical mannerisms when she's talking about her, the facial expressions, this whole stuff about mom, it just makes me wonder, like, where she really stood with Tylee. It is 100% normal. I think we can all be in this situation of, we know people that have kids, and especially with teenagers, whatever, where you're just like, oh, yeah, it's really exhausting. That's normal, but this is like another level of taking something really super personal where you're just like, why, how are you that involved? You know what I'm saying? With this family dynamic or whatever. So that part is just very weird and unsettling to me. Now, as all of this draws to a close, this interview, everything, I think this interview showed us how she has translated a lot of this experience.
But on the eternal thing, I think that God wanted me to be a witness for all this, so. And that's a whole different discussion, but somebody needed to be a witness to all this craziness that would tell the truth.
Now, as we've seen with so many people involved very close to this case and this side of it, there's a lot of ego, there's a lot of self-righteousness, and there's a lot of interesting definitions of truth. And so I do think that there's a lot to be said for that statement that's coming out of her mouth, where she has translated this to, you know what, God put me here for a reason to be a witness to this and to tell the truth, which she's already backpedaled on so many things just in this interview. I'm like, okay. But then to just put it down into those means of all back to self and all back to ego is just kind of bizarre to me, but, whatever. Again, if her testimony and all that will help get these monsters behind bars, then wonderful, great, okay, let's do it. So, but I just feel like there's a whole bunch of the story that's not out there, not coming through, and I think the detectives see that, and I think they're trying to avoid a total train wreck on trial day, on the stand, the whole 9 yards. So time will tell. Thank you all for being here and watching. I really appreciate it. Roscoe left a few minutes ago. He was over it. He was like, I can't take this interview anymore. I'm gone. But he thanks you as well. And until next time when we meet back here on the sofa, I'll see you here.